Hello everyone, this is Taran here from Study Hub again, and I am going to cover a very important question today. It is called reading fill in the blanks. We also know them by the name of drag and drop blanks. So it is one of the questions in the reading section contributing scores to the reading module. And this is what the question will look like. You will have a passage there, a paragraph there with few blanks, and then you will have few words. You need to identify the missing words and you need to drag and drop those words in the right spot. You can change them whenever you want, you can change the sequence, but once you click next you cannot come back now. So make sure before you click next you do it in the proper way with proper understanding. And I'm going to teach you about those strategies today. Very helpful, very easy. The only thing you need is regular practice and understanding, right? So let's have a quick look at the strategies. Drag and drop blanks. This is a question that is mainly testing your understanding of English. How familiar are you with the structure of the sentences? How familiar are you with the English language? In this particular question, you will see that mostly you are having simple words. You don't have very difficult words. Very rarely you will see a difficult word as one of the options. Even if the difficult words are there in the options, it is very less likely that those difficult words are going to be one of the answers. They are there just to confuse you, and that's where we apply the strategy of IDC, I don't care. We have few videos on that strategy that you can look at on our channels. Next thing you need to keep in mind is when you're solving this question, in order to make sure that you're able to do this question quicker and without wasting time, what we'll be doing is we'll be understanding the basic grammar rules so that we can approach this question with more confidence and not wasting our time. Let's have a look at those basic grammar rules now. The first basic grammar rule, so I'm going to give you an overview of what these basic rules are. You can watch detailed lectures on our channels as well, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview and then we will apply these rules to 2 or 3 questions to understand how effective they are. So the first rule that we are going to apply will be subject verb object rule. This is the basic grammar sentence structuring where subject is followed by a verb is followed by an object. Now in this case, Australia, which is a subject, is being followed by verb and helping verb is located. And then we have got object, the southern hemisphere, and we are using some prepositions in between. And all these things, all this understanding of the sentence structure will really help you to understand what you need. Because you know that if there is Australia and the blank, next one is a blank, that means we need a verb. Or if there is a blank here and it is located, that means we need a noun there. And if it is verb and you're then followed by prepositions and objects, then you automatically get to know a basic understanding of what are the missing words that you need over there. So this is the first rule. Let's have a look at the second rule now. Second rule is the noun phrase rule. Article, adjective and noun, that is called noun phrase, a combination of these 3. For example, the helpful strategy. So here we have got an article, the, followed by an adjective, and then it is followed by noun strategies. And this understanding of noun phrase will also help you to identify what are the missing words that you need to fill in. For example, if you say, let's say this is a blank here, then you know the dash strategies, you're looking for an adjective there. You're looking for a word that defines those strategies. Or if let's say this is the blank here, the helpful something, you know we are looking for a noun there. Similarly here, if I have this as a blank, the African, we know we are looking for a noun, the African culture, the African continent, the African citizen, the African city, the African game, the African sports, the African movies, right? So we will be looking for some nouns there. So this understanding will also be helpful to identify what do we need over there. Third rule, this is called passive voice rule. Now in PTE, because it's an academic test, they will be using a lot of passive voice over there. What is passive voice? Passive voice is when we are writing a sentence by using the object in the beginning. For example, a normal sentence is cat eats mouse. But in passive voice, the mouse object comes in the beginning. So it will be mouse is eaten by cat. So what we see in passive voice is, it is always using third form of the verb. So that means a very helpful trick here is if you see a blank after is, are, was, were, these type of words, and it is followed by a blank, 98% chances it is going to be a verb in the third form. 2% chances it can be ing verb or an adjective. So that means as soon as you see a blank after are, after is, after were, the first thing that you're going to look for is how many third form verbs do you have. Next rule. This is called preposition rule. So what happens here is mostly or quite a few times you will see the blanks followed by to or for. If the blank is followed by to, in PTE mostly it is verb in the base form. And if the blank is followed by for, in PTE mostly it is ing verb and sometimes it can be a noun. For example, to do, I am going to do this, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to perform this. So all this teach, learn, perform, do, they are base form verbs. There are different forms of the verbs. Base form is the like S form, base form, ing form, ed form. So base form is the basic verb that don't have any s or ing with it. And for will be followed by ing or nouns. This is the last rule that we say helping verb rule. So if you see a blank after must, may, could, can, it will always be followed by a base form verb. That is the grammar rule, right? So like I will do it, I can perform this, I should learn this, I could do this. So all this learn, do, perform, they are all base form verbs. Now let's have a quick look at one of the questions here. This is your first question. Feel free to pause the video if you want to solve this and then look at the discussion. But I'm going to straight away give you the logics and discuss this question. So the first thing that we do in drag and drop blanks is we will always look at the options first and identify what do we have. How many nouns, how many verbs, how many adjectives, right? Are there any conjunctions? How many verbs are in S form, ing form, base form or third form? So if we look at this one here, augment, expel, concerns, parties, areas, prepare, temples, foresee. So these are our words. We can say it is combination of nouns and verbs. Don't worry if you don't know the meaning of any particular word. Don't waste your time. It is just like getting an overview quickly of what are these words for. So let's do this first one here. The New Year is the most important holiday in Japan and is a symbol of renewal. In December, various Bonenkai or forget the year dash are held to bid farewell to the problems and dash of the past year. Forget the year dash are held. So I'm going to apply the subject verb object. So what do we see here? We have got word are. Now are is giving you an indication what you need here will be a plural word. And once you get that understanding, we'll look at how many plurals we have. We got parties, concerns, areas, temples. So we've got 4 of them. So straight away applying this logic, I'm down to 50% of the options. Now look at the tone. New Year is the most important holiday, symbol of renewal. Various Bonenkai or forget the year dash are held to bid farewell to the problems. So tone is positive here, right? We are speaking on a positive terms here. So out of these words, we'll look for something positive. And you have to look at the context as well. So if you need to bid farewell to something, this is called context. Out of these words, which is the most likely answer if you want to bid farewell to something or someone, and the answer will be parties. Are held to bid farewell to the problems and dash of the past year. So this is where we apply, again it is a noun phrase logic, but we also call it apples with apples logic. The problems and dash. So problems is a noun, so more likely what you need here will be a noun. Now problems is a negative noun, you need a negative noun. It is plural, so most likely this has to be a plural. Now let's look at, so this is already gone. Let's look at out of concerns, areas and temples, which is the word that can behave as negative and which is the word that can be used with problems. And the answer will be problems and concerns. So this is going to be our next option. For and the past and prepare for a new beginning. Misunderstandings and grudges are forgiven and houses are scrubbed. At midnight on December 31st, Buddhists dash strike their gongs. So Buddhist is an adjective here. Strike is a verb here. Again, you're using that subject verb object rule. What you need here will be a noun. That noun has to be plural because this is strike. It is not strikes. If it was strikes, then what we need here will be a singular. So now we need plural here and the answer will be temples or areas? Of course, answer will be both these temples strike their gongs. In an effort to dash, to is always followed by base form verb. Now look at that. So we strike their gongs in an effort to dash 108 types of human weakness. What do you want with the human weakness? Do you want to remove them, or do you want to see them? Do you want to prepare for them? We don't prepare for weaknesses. We don't want to foresee them. What we want them is out of our life, and therefore we will be using the expel 108 types of human weaknesses. Right? Now let's look at the second question. Now first thing that we are going to do is we are going to look at the options. What are the options? Deploy, endorse, presentation, regulated, employ, called, and inspiration. So we've got some nouns, some verbs, and we've got an ed verb as well, and this will help us, like this gives an idea what are the words that we have. When we are solving it, we will be referring to, or we will be keeping that in mind. Let's solve the first one. So to be dash a haute couture house, a business must belong to the syndical chamber of haute couture in Paris. To be, so this is a grammar rule where we normally say to be, third form verb is used, right? To be done, to be known, to be. So we will be looking for a third form verb here. And how many third form verbs we have? Two of them, called and regulated. So in this case, answer will be to be called a haute couture house, a business must belong to the syndical chamber, because regulated will not make sense here. Called in that context makes sense. That means to be known as haute couture, a business must belong to syndical chamber. Next one, which is dashed by the French Department of Industry. Now this is where, remember, we are going to apply the logic of the blank after is, are, was, were. 98% chances it will be third form verb, and 2% chances it can be an adjective or ing verb. Now we have already used that one there. So right now we have got only one verb remaining there, regulated. So the answer for the second one, we will look at whether regulated is making sense as well. Which is regulated by. So another logic that we apply is if there is a preposition after the blank, by, on, to, with, we need to make sure that that word is collocating as well. That's called collocation. So which is regulated by the French Department of Industry, which is regulated by someone, it is making sense. So the answer for the second one will be regulated. Members must dash 15 or more people and present their collections twice a year. Members must. So normally when we say a sentence, or that sentence as per helping verb rule, if the blank is after must, it has to be base form verb. And how many base form verbs we have? So regulated is already gone. Presentation and inspiration are nouns. So we have got endorse, deploy, or employ. Now as per the trick, or as per the logic, go for the easiest word first and see if that is the answer. And mostly it will happen is the easiest word is mostly the answer. The other words are just to trap you, and right, you might start feeling okay, it has to be endorse or deploy. But first we'll look at the easiest one in this case that I'm very familiar with, and that is employ. So members must employ 15 or more people, it makes sense. And because it is in the context of business and industries and all, so employing people in that context is also making sense. Fourth one, each dash must include at least 35 separate outfits for day and evening wear. Each dash must. So now we need a blank. We have got a blank after each and before helping verb. So we are applying a subject verb object logic here. So we need a noun here, and each is giving me an indication that we need a singular noun here. Either we can go with presentation or inspiration. Now in this case, answer will be each presentation must include at least 35 separate outfits, right? So answers are called, regulated, employ, presentation. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, this is the next question. Now look at the options quickly. Distributed, ed verb, declaration, specific, blatant, levy, associated, rooted. It's okay if you don't know the meaning of all the words, but try to quickly see what are the words. An open door policy provides for maintenance in a certain territory of equal commercial and industrial rights for the nationals of all countries. As a dash policy, it was first advanced by the United States. As a dash policy. So we are applying the noun phrase logic. Article, adjective, noun. Article a dash adjective, policy is a noun. So we need an adjective there. And how many adjectives we have here? We have got specific, we have got blatant. Distributed is ed verb. Declaration is noun, associated is verb, rooted is verb as well, and levy is a verb, but if you not familiar with that word, okay, you can say, well, not sure about that word, right? So, but one thing is very sure, that we know the word specific. And then there is blatant, which also behaves like an adjective. So first I'm going to go with the adjective that I know and see if it is making sense. So as a specific policy, it was first advanced by the United States. As a policy is specific, yes, that makes sense. So the answer for the first one will be specific policy. So that means that is gone. Next one, it was first advanced by the United States, but it was dash in the typical most favored nation clause. It was, blank is after was, mostly third form verb. How many third form verbs we have? Distributed, associated and rooted. So there is a tie now, but there is something that will always come to your help, or mostly come to your help: prepositions, collocations. You need to look for a word out of distributed, associated and rooted that is used with in. Now associated is a very popular collocation that is used with, associated with. So distributed in makes sense, rooted in makes sense. Now we need to identify which one out of these two words will go in there. So we will look at the context. But it was, now what is this it referring to? What do you think this it is referring to? This it is referring to a policy. So what happens with the policy? Policy is distributed in typical most favored nation clause of treaties, or policy is rooted in typical most favored nation clause of the treaties. Answer will be rooted in, because policies distributed in does not make sense. Income can be distributed, right? Money can be distributed, but not policies. Although the open door is generally dash with China. So again, I always say, whenever you look at these words here, ly words, just ignore them, right? Pretend as if they don't exist there. Now look at that, the blank is after is, and we have got a preposition with after the blank. So out of distributed and associated, answer in this case will be associated with. It also received recognition at the Berlin Conference of 1885, which declared that no power could dash preferential duties in the Congo Basin. No power could, we need base form of the verb. Now distributed is not base form of the verb. Declaration is noun. Blatant behaves like an adjective, like blatant lies, very popular collocation. So the only word left is levy. Grammatically no other word will go in there, because we need the verb in base form. So if you know this technique, this strategy, sometimes even if you don't know the meaning of the word, you will be able to solve it. So in this case, answer will be no power could levy preferential duties in the Congo Basin, right? One more last question. So we'll look at the options first. Incidence, effects, distributed, income, expenditure, lessened, average. So we have got nouns, we have got adjectives, we have got verbs, we have got plural nouns like effects. Now we go to the question. To understand how many inhabitants of a country are poor, to understand how many inhabitants of a country are poor, it is not enough to know a country's per capita income. Very popular collocation. So sometimes you don't really have to go with the logic always. If I say, for example, say from a child's point of view, you know that it is going to be views, because these are the collocations, or these are very popular phrases. So in this case, average a country's per capita income. And even if you go by the logic, we are going to apply the noun phrase logic. A country's per capita something, article, adjective, noun. So we need a noun here. And when we look at the noun, we have got incidence as noun, effects, expenditure or income, and that's where we are going to go with income as the word. So average per capita income. The number of poor people in a country and the dash quality of life. The dash quality of life. Again, noun phrase logic is being applied. The article, adjective, noun, quality of life. So we need an adjective there. So if we go down there, we can look at adjective. There is only one adjective, average. And does it make sense? The average quality of life? Yes, it does. So answer will be average quality of life. Depends on how equally or unequally income is dash across the population. Income is third form verb is needed after is. And we also need to make sure it is collocating with across. How many third form verbs are there? Two of them, distributed and lessened. Now what is across the population? Income. So income can be lessened or income can be distributed. Well, straight away answer will be distributed across the population. In Brazil and Hungary, for example, per capita income levels are quite comparable, but the dash of poverty in Brazil is much higher. The dash of poverty. So we are looking at the noun phrase logic here. the noun is needed. Now in this case we don't need adjective because after the blank we have got of. If after the blank you've got a noun, like here we've got a noun quality, then we will go for adjective. But in this case we don't have a noun there, so we need a noun. Adjective may be there, may not be there. I can say a city, I can say a beautiful city. I can say the strategies, I can say the helpful strategies. So after the, there will always be a noun, there may be an adjective or not. So we need a noun here. That means we can go with incidence, we can go with effects, we can go with the expenditure of poverty in Brazil is much higher. Another word, subject verb logic, is, that means we are looking for a singular there. So we cannot go with effects. Either answer will be incidence or expenditure. Now, which one do you think is the answer? The expenditure of poverty in Brazil is much higher, or incidence of poverty is much higher? Now, if I go with expenditure of poverty is much higher, now that doesn't really make sense in that context, because if expenditure is high, how can that be poverty? If the spending is how can that be poverty? So logically that word doesn't fit in well. So therefore answer in this case will be incidence of poverty in Brazil is much higher, and it is singular with is, so it is incidence of poverty. Guys, I hope that was helpful. Please make sure that whenever you approach this question, you try to approach this question with some sort of a logic so that you can save your time. And over the time when you're practicing these questions with proper logics, you are seasoning your brain and you will be able to solve it quickly without spending too much time on these questions here, because time is of essence in PTE reading. Now there are other lectures that we have on our channels that you can go through and have a look at how to solve these questions. Feel free to send us a message if you need, or if you want us to make a video on any particular topic. We'll be always happy to help in that case. And if you want to join our courses, or if you want to learn all these strategies in more detail with proper courses, there are numbers on the screen. You can give us a call, send us a WhatsApp message, and one of our team members will definitely be in touch with you. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Bye bye.